Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. So today I am doing the end of year book tag. Apparently this tag has been around for a while, but I've never heard of it, so I will find out who did the original one and link them down below. It's just kind of like a fun little tag to get you organised before the end of the year and straighten out your goals. So the first question is, are there any books that you've started this year and need to finish before the year ends? I don't normally have books that I don't finish. I'm kind of a compulsive reader. If once I've started a book I have to finish it, even if it's awful, which is a massive problem. But I realised that I have two books, both in audiobook format, which I've not finished yet. So the first one is Kill Creek by Scott Thomas, and this is a horror book. I've been listening to it as an audiobook. It's so long, it's like 15 hours. I'm really enjoying it, but it's a bit of a challenge to get through. And basically it's a horror book. It's about these four authors who get invited to a publicity retreat at a haunted house which is called Kill Creek, and they meant to stay, I think it's one night. They stay for like a 24-hour period, and the guy who has organised it has done similar publicity stunts before, and he streams them all live the entire time on YouTube. So the four authors are vaguely based on real horror authors. They're not very specific with the details, but there's one who's clearly meant to be like an R.L. Stine type writer. There's one who is a female writer and she writes really brutal, violent horror stuff. The main character's like a Stephen King-esque guy, I think. And then there's an older writer who has written like cosmic horror and that kind of thing. So they're all trapped in this haunted house and scary stuff starts happening. I think I'm on chapter 16 at the moment, and it is really good. The scary stuff's just starting to happen, and I'm slightly concerned because I feel like they're going to kill off someone soon. And I really like all the characters. I don't want them to leave the story. But yeah, so that's the first book, and the second one is Kill Me Twice by Simon Booker. This I started listening to in audiobook format, but I was living in Newcastle for a while for my master's degree, and I just moved back home 2 months ago, and my library membership was only for a year because I only had residency for a year. So I borrowed it from the library and it ran out, and I couldn't get it from my new library, so I bought the physical form to finish reading it. But I need to get this done because otherwise I'm going to forget what's happened in the story so far, and it's just going to be a pain. I'll have to start it again. I think I also got to around chapter 15 with this one, but this is a thriller, and it's about a woman whose job is she writes books that get people who are wrongly accused out of prison, and she's got this client who's a woman who is accused of burning this man to death. And the man that she burned to death, she finds out the main character's got a teenage daughter who's gotten pregnant, and she finds out that the person who got her pregnant was the man who supposedly burned to death. And so she's now on a campaign to prove that the guy didn't burn to death, that it was all a setup. There's also some weird side plot with the prison that they're farming babies, I believe. There's a lot going on in this story, but it was really good. It was really nice to listen to. I don't know if it'll be as good to read. It was a nice little listening experience, and it's not as... the plot is very coincidental, but it doesn't feel like it's a cop-out or anything. It feels quite natural within the story, which is impressive. So yeah, those are the two books I would like to finish before the end of 2018. So the next question is there an autumnal book that you're going to use to transition into the end of the year? I'm probably filming this a bit late. I don't really have a specific book for this one, but during October I read a lot of horror books, and that kind of is my transitional phase. In November I'm reading quite a few thrillers and fantasy, and again that's what I associate with this time of year. And then in December I've just got about 20 Christmas books on my TBR, which I'm very excited for. So that's kind of my transitional books. So the next question is there a new release that hasn't come out yet that you're still waiting for? And there is. It is Dear Heartbreak, and it's kind of an anthology project. I don't know if there's actually any stories in it, but this comes out on December 18th, and it is basically a bunch of young adult authors answer requests for help from real teenagers, and I think they're all related to romance potentially, but there might be more that are based about suicide. And yeah, it just sounds really interesting. Like I said, I don't know if the responses are stories or if it is just authors responding to letters, but either way I think it sounds quite interesting and like it could be a good read. It might be an intense read. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So the next question is, what are 3 books that you want to finish before the end of the year? So the first book I'm going to talk about is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. It's also known as The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I forget which one is the British version. I don't own it yet. But yeah, this sounds super up my street. It is a murder mystery sci-fi type story, and it's about a woman gets murdered, I believe, and the detective who's trying to solve it wakes up every day in a different body for someone who's at this, I think it's like a party or something like that. So presumably they're trying to solve it by actually going into people's bodies. I've heard it's really complicated, which might be its downfall, because while I absolutely adore murder mysteries, particularly straight up murder mysteries that actually have clues and stuff, it's that I've heard there's like hundreds of characters and I'm not very good at paying attention to intense sci-fi, so I might get bored with this, but I think I'll really like it. Next book I really want to read before the end of the year is Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. I got this book for my birthday, which is in September, and I meant to read it for October, but I just didn't. I've fallen out of love with reading physical books, which I know is like taboo on BookTube, but I find it really difficult because I can't transport them as easily, and I usually read on my way to work, and I don't like having books in my bag because I feel like they're going to get damaged. But yeah, this sounds really cool. This is basically Scooby-Doo meets It by Stephen King, and it's about a Scooby-Doo type gang, and it's a couple of years after, I think like 12 years or something after they solved their last case, and all of their lives have just gone downhill. So one of them is in a mental asylum, one of them is dead and haunting another member. The dog is dead and there's a new dog, and it just sounds really interesting. I think they have to come together to solve another case, and there's potentially actual supernatural elements in this. And yeah, it sounds like it's either going to be absolutely awful or it might be the best thing I've ever read, because it combines a lot of things I love. But I have got high hopes for this one. And the final book I really want to read before the end of the year is All Out, and it's an anthology about historical stories of gay teenagers, I believe. It's got a bunch of different authors in it, and I got this from my friend for their birthday in October, and I don't know if they've read it yet, but they were really happy when it arrived. They had never heard of it and it really excited them. And I really want to read it because I know they're reading it now, and it'd be cool to read it at the same time. And also it just sounds really good. There's a lot of anthologies I put on my TBR this year, and I haven't really gotten through as many of them as I hoped, so I'd really like to read that before the year's out, and I think I'll really enjoy it. The next question is there a book that you think may still surprise you and become your favourite book of the year? I think any of the ones that I just mentioned, maybe not All Out, I don't think that'll be my favourite. I think that'll be like a 3.5 or something, because anthologies are hard to be your favourite. But Meddling Kids in particular, if it is as good as I hope it could be, then that might be one of my favourite books of the year. And also The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. If I don't find it too complicated, then I'm sure it's going to be one of my favourite books. I'm not sure what my favourite book is at the moment of the year. I've got a couple that I've rated 5 stars, so I'm going to have to think about that when I do my wrap-up. But yeah, I think that they have definitely got high potential. And the final question is, have you already started making reading plans for 2019? Yes, absolutely. I've got a couple of challenges for myself, or like projects if you want to call them that that I've planned videos for and I'm going to put up in January. It's going to be when I'm uploading all my 2019 content. And I'm very excited for them. One of them is going to be the 2018 releases that I didn't get to that I really want to read. So I'm going to try and read, these are all going to be lists of 10. I'm going to try and read them kind of once a month, allowing for months where I don't read one of them. And the other one is authors that I've got on my TBR, that I've got multiple books by them and I haven't read them yet. So that's also going to be up in January. And I'm planning more projects all the time. I've got so many ideas for stuff I want to do and things I want to film. So yeah, I'm very excited for 2019, but I need to finish 2018 first, and I'm also excited for what I've got left to read. So yeah, that is the end of year book tag. If you're watching this video, consider yourselves tagged. Please upload a video if you want to. Give me a like if you liked this video, it really helps me out a lot. If you've read any of the books that I've got to read before the end of the year and you really liked them, please let me know. If you didn't like them as well, let me know. Please don't spoil anything, but it'd be interesting to see, particularly with 7 Deaths, what the general consensus is. And yeah, I hope to see you next time.